Hello and welcome to This Time Africa, right here in the studios of Afrique Today, and I'm your host, Sia Matilda Banga. As you know, This Time Africa is a platform where we showcase African men, African women, African businesses, our politicians, emerging leaders, friends of Africa, partners of Africa, investments, and many more in the dish of Africa. But the question always is, what's on this time? Well, as you know, the clock faces Congo, Brazzaville today, and I have the pleasure of speaking with a very good friend of mine, Dr. Teylama Miabey, who happens to be a professor and also a politician. Welcome to the show, Dr. Miabey.
Thank you, Dr. Tilda. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad to have you because you were talking about my topic today. Most of it is going to be politics. I love politics. I just love politics.
You should run for office in Sierra Leone.
I'm planning to do that.
All
hey,
right.
viewers, that's it.
I will vote for you.
Thank you, and I will come and support you too. That's what it's all about.
Yes.
But you know, I know you to be a professor of UDC, a mathematician, by the way. Oh my God, I ran out of classes many times of mathematics, but that's another thing. I know you to be a professor. I know you to be a politician, somebody who is involved in the diaspora community. But for the sake of viewers who are listening to you for the first time, give us a short rundown of your bio, which I would prefer that you do.
Thank you, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to be here with you.
Thank you.
I've watched your show, and I love it, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here with you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm from Congo, Brazzaville. My name is Teylama Miabey. I am a professor of mathematics at UDC, but I'm also the executive director of the National Congress for Democracy. The National Congress for Democracy is a diaspora organization based in Washington, D.C., that stand for democracy in Africa, particularly Congo-Brazzaville and the Central Africa region that's still until now where we still have dictators that have been there for a long time. So our organization focuses right now on trying to bring democracy in Congo-Brazzaville. We have a president who has been in power since 1979. When Jimmy Carter was president, he was president. When Reagan was president, he was president. And Congo, although it's a rich country, oil-producing country, unfortunately, 85% of the people live with less $1.25 per day.
Wow.
So we are trying to bring awareness to those issues and also inform the international community and how to put pressure on the current government to bring up democracy in Congo-Brazzaville.
That's very, very impressive. So what do you do to galvanize or get members? Is it just particularly for Congo-Brazzaville, or is the National Congress for Democracy open also for other people from Africa? Well,
one of the issues with Africans have always been to work in solitary, and that's a weakness. Africans, as you look at in this country, in America, we have a large number of Africans in this country, and we have a very qualified smart people of African descent who are here in America. But unfortunately, we tend not to work together. So the National Congress for Democracy, we are trying to bring up bridges with different type of organization, African organization, or any type of organization that works with the betterment of people of African and people of African descent. And so, like in the same context where we met, this was an event that was organized to allow people of different type of organization to come together, to network and see what kind of issue we can tackle together for the betterment of our people. Because it's so apparent that when you do things by yourself, matter of fact, because of the power that Africa has, I believe that if we can come together, not all, but at least a number of us, in that colorful way from east, west, north, and south of Africa, I think it's going to send a kind of alarm information, something to the people to know
that, hey, the sleeping giant is awake. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you said, you use the term sleeping giant, and I love the term you just used, because Africa is basically the sleeping giant. Well, we have so much potential in Africa. If you look at the population of the African, we have the youngest population in the world.
Yeah.
I think there's less than 25 years, the longest population in the world. That's one. Number two, in terms of natural resources, we have blessed with natural resources.
Yes.
All the natural resources are there, and still some
Taken from us
Yes.
and brought out and sold back to us.
Yes,
I think I have
absolutely.
one of them.
Absolutely.
Just saying, yeah.
Yes. So we have all those natural resources that are there, and still natural resources to be discovered.
Yeah.
Right now, people are talking about new type of natural resources that are being discovered in Africa.
Wow.
New type. So we have so much potential, but as you said, it's a sleeping giant that need to be awakened, so that we continue being taken advantage of.
Yes.
Our continent has been taken advantage of. Our continent has served for the development of other continents of the world, and people are coming still in Africa to take advantage of our continent, and we need to wake up so that we can take care of our own destiny.
Is it partly our responsibility, though, as people in the diaspora who have come and we've had knowledge, we've seen what the Western world is, and have we not taken proper steps? Have we not taken action? What would you ascribe that to? For all these years, I mean.
Well, for most of us, it's been our leadership back home.
Okay.
We had poor leadership in general in many African countries. Not all, but for many African countries, I can name a few countries. For instance, when you take Congo Brazzaville, when a president has been there for 40 years, and yet this is an oil-producing country, but yet people are poor. That tells you that it's poor leadership. When you have other country like Cameroon, where the president has been in place for 36 years, I mean, I can go on in all these African countries. We have such a poor leadership that the potential that we have with the diaspora, the potential that we have within the continent are not being used. And so we are here now helping America to develop, serving America, although we can go back home and use our potential, use the qualities that we have for the development of our own people. And so I think the problem is the qualities of leadership that we have in our continent, and we need to work politically, socially to bring about a new kind of leadership. I hope that, for instance, in your case, that energy, that smartness that you have, you can one day go back to Sierra Leone and use it for that country.
I hope so. But so how are we, because one of the things that I realized when I went back home some years ago, a couple of years ago, was there was this divide even among those of us in the diaspora and those who were back home. And they felt like, oh, are you coming now? There was this kind of divide.
Okay.
So what do we need to do? Because the voting power is really with those who are there. What do we need to let them understand that in order for Congo Brazzaville, for instance, to stand back on its feet and have a young, viable leader who understands it's not about tribe, it's not about what goes into your pocket, a bag of rice. What do we need to do?
Well, that's a very interesting and at the same time very complicated question. Complicated because it's complex. We, Africa, have inherited a very complex world with the fact that we're extremely rich and everybody else wants our natural resources. The fact that we've been conquered and divided among us.
Yes.
And so people now have constructs, social construct that are oppose one another within the same country, within the same continent. And so basically we are confronted with all those barriers.
Yes.
And so, but the key thing for me is to, first, education.
Yes.
Now, education is in raising the consciousness of people. That when you are in Sierra Leone and I'm in Congo Brazzaville, we basically have faced the same type of issues.
Yes.
And so it is when we come together as people to work together in order to advance our causes that I think things can change. But that consciousness takes education.
It takes education. And it not only takes education, I think if we have a healthy competition amongst ourselves, like, man, look at Congo Brazzaville, look at what they're doing. Because Sierra Leone is, I think we're on the way right now, to a way to stability and economic empowerment and all of that. But you know what? Let's take a short break and we'll be back. I'm right here in the studios with Dr. Teylama Miabey, and we are talking politics. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to This Time Africa. Again, we are right here in the studios of Africa Today. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Teylama Miabey, who is a member of the National Congress for Democracy. I'm going to leave the professor side because right now we are talking politics. Welcome again.
Thank you.
All right. So before we left, I said it's probably good to have a kind of a healthy competition. I was just thinking of you when you said that your president has been there since 1979, and France has a president that is probably older or younger than the number of years that he has been in power. There's got to be a need for change. When are we, or what are we going to do? When will Africa learn that we have to abide by constitutional policies? When? I know it's an open-ended question, but let's talk about that a little bit, about this age difference. I see them on YouTube sometimes sleeping, by the way.
Yes. Okay. Mugabe, right?
Yes.
Mugabe is sleeping. No, that's our problem. Our problem is that the people we have in power in Africa right now, a lot of them, they want to remain in power. They want to remain there until like the 80 years old, 90 years old. And then when they die, they want to give the country to their children, and it's become like a monarchy.
Yes.
So we need to stand against that because one of we need to stop to stand against that, but we need to stand for democracy. Democracy and human rights, good governance.
Yes.
Those are the values that we need to stand for Africa. Those are what we need for development.
Yes.
I believe that sustainable development cannot be attained without good governance and without democracy.
That's right.
And so we have people who have been in power for a long period of time who do not want to leave office. And there are countries there who are sustain them in power because they are puppets of the West.
That's right.
They are there to serve a particular interest, not to serve the people who are they supposed to be serving.
Correct.
And so the challenge is for us is that what do we do as Africans in order to basically bring that change?
Okay.
And that's very complex. That's a very complex question. And the approach of trying to solve that problem is actually extremely difficult, to be honest.
You can give us an insight, because I am just listening to you.
Yes.
And I love your wisdom, and I love the fact that you have such knowledge and passion for change for Africa.
Yes.
I think that you would be a good tool for Africa's change, if not all of Africa's change. What an example, a beacon of light for people from the diaspora. Are you intending, have you thought about it, like going back to Congo Brazzaville and becoming that change?
Well, my biggest desire for Congo is to see a democratic Congo.
Okay.
Is to see a Congo where people will go elect their leaders freely. Is to see the young generations of Congolese people have the freedom to go to school, have the ability to go to school, and to vote their own leaders in position of power. So they are electing leaders that are going there to serve their interest, not the interest of some foreign country or a foreign multinational company that lives miles away. That is my biggest desire for Congo Brazzaville and for the continent of Africa.
Okay.
And so it's going to take many people like myself who are going to come together, and there are plenty of them who are based here in Washington, D.C. Some of them are based in France and all over Africa, from Congo Brazzaville, who wants to see a change in that country.
Yes.
That change that will allow people to go to school, that will allow people to have schools, just like in this country. We are standing up in this place here where we have schools, we have libraries, we have aspects that will allow kids to go to school and develop. This is an it. By the way, we have people in Africa, in my country, for instance, who have to spend days without having food because the country is not providing.
But we have agriculture. I mean, we have a vast land of agricultural resource.
The point is that there's no politics to develop the agriculture.
No structure.
Absolutely. In my country, 85% of the budget is controlled by the money, the oil revenues, and also timber revenue. So we're selling, but we're not developing anything. And we have one of the most fertile land. So my point is that it's people like you and me who are interested in seeing the country or the continent move out of despot, moved out of dictatorship and having a democratic process being established in place, so that people can live their free will life that was given to them at birth.
Yes.
So that is what I'm standing for. I'm standing for democracy. I'm standing for good governance, and I'm standing for
human rights.
Human right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. I mean, you really have a point. Go ahead.
No, so it's not about me. It's about the ideal that we are fighting for.
Yes.
We are fighting for a free Africa. We are fighting for a free Congo, not a country that has a guy who's been there for 40 years and for 40 years
holding everybody hostage and handicapped.
Holding hostages and has been killing people, right, for 40 years. And so that is the issue that is at hand. It's not a personal journey. Of course, now in the process of doing so, if it brings us to the point where we have to be responsible and take authority and take control of the country and lead the country, we are not shy of that. but it's the idea that we're fighting for, the idea of freedom,
it's
democracy,
so important.
yes, and good governance.
It's very, very important. I remember when we had the war in Sierra Leone. So there are 3 principles that I have lived by when it comes to politics: to educate, to engage, and to empower.
Absolutely.
The 3 E's. I think if we, for instance, organize workshops, seminars of human rights, good governance in Congo Brazzaville, for instance, and I don't mind doing that in any country at all, because once we get the minds of the people, as long as the minds, the citizens, the indigenes of Congo Brazzaville or Sierra Leone begin to understand that life can be better,
yes,
if there is a change,
absolutely,
then because they have now education, and we engage them in raising awareness and all of that, then they are empowered,
absolutely,
to see change definitely
Absolutely.
come.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with what you said.
Yeah, just if you have some thoughts on it. You
Well,
can.
the thought is always, I think the key thing for us is education.
Yes.
Education of, first of all, having good schools in Africa. But not only having the good schools, when I'm talking about good schools, I'm talking about with new technology,
Yes.
getting access to the internet and getting access to the new technology that have been in place. That's number one for us. But beside that aspect, the physical aspect of education, we also need to design an education ideology that will free the mind of people.
Yes.
Because you can be educated, but you can be miseducated because you are not working for your own personal interest, but you are
Yes.
there to work for the interest of other people. So you basically are free physically, but mentally you've been enchained
Yes.
by the colonizers or the ideas of colonization.
Yes.
You know, so you have seen that in Africa, people who have doctorates, who are well educated, but they are not working for their own people.
Yeah.
They are working against their own people,
Yes.
against their own personal interest. That is the misconception, that's the miseducation that we need to fight for. And in order to fight that, we have to design ideology
Yes.
that actually deals with the raising the consciousness of black people.
Very important.
So going back to the history of people, knowing our history,
Yes.
that we are just not that history that has been given to us of illiterate people or ignorant people or salvaged people, but we are people who have kingdom in Africa.
Yes. Yes.
Besides the fact that leave Egypt aside, in all these African countries,
There's been
we have to
kingdoms.
go back to the kingdom that we have. Learn about how
Yes.
great those kingdoms were.
Yes.
Learn about the values that were carried within those kingdoms. So go back to our own culture.
Respect.
Absolutely.
Honor. Yes.
Those values, go back and promote those values so we can gain confidence. And with that confidence, we can face anybody, because the future is African.
Yes.
The future is in Africa. As I said earlier, we have the youngest population.
Yes.
We are the richest continent on earth.
Yes.
So we are the richest continent where people are coming there. But our own destiny is not controlled by us, because we are allowing our leaders to give the land, to sell the land to the Western country, to the multinationals, and so therefore our people are there like slaves. This is a modern slavery that we are facing in Africa. That's the reality. So we need to fight against that modern slavery. We need to fight against the Denis Sassou Nguesso, president of Congo Brazzaville, who's there as the puppet of Western countries. And I'm naming Denis Sassou Nguesso, but I
Yes.
can name many other African presidents
Yes.
who are there to serve not the interest of their own people, but they are there to serve the interest of France or the interest of other multinational companies when our own people are eating dust. This is what we need to fight against.
And I am very passionate, even as you speak. I think of the young people, the youth. I mean, I know that's probably women empowerment and men's empowerment, but I feel very passionately about the youth, because it seems like they have no place to go. I'm tired of seeing
Absolutely.
youth on the streets of Africa selling little wares on a tray, and you could see that they are lost for hope. Their hope is lost, and there's nothing to do. I just want to go, and I wish there was a way that we could change the mind. I think it's a mindset thing.
Absolutely.
If the mindset of the people begin to change,
Absolutely.
that this is what other countries are doing. They have their five-year term, and they must go back to the polls and do what is right. And if you don't if you don't meet the needs of the people, there's got to be a change.
Absolutely.
I think there has to be a change. I really think that we need a word to the youth. What's the hope that you want to leave with the youth?
What I would say is that,
Or somebody may be listening in Congo Brazzaville from here. What would you like them to hear?
well, from Congo Brazzaville, if anybody from Congo Brazzaville is listening, I would say that do not be in despair.
Correct.
Sassou Nguesso is not eternal. It will go. Its time will come.
It will come.
And so, but we should not give up, and we should not be intimidated or engaged in the corruption that he has put in place.
Yeah.
So we have to keep standing for what is right. But I believe that for Congo Brazzaville and other African countries, the time is on our side. Sassou Nguesso is an old man. Paul Biya is an old man. I'm listing other leaders, the dictators, they're all old men. They're gonna die soon. So we need to be ready.
The time will be over very soon.
Absolutely.
We have seen men stay in power, and then all of a sudden one day somebody becomes crazy, like I've had enough, and that's it. You got to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're keeping hope alive.
Yes.
We are saying that for people of Congo Brazzaville, for people of the continent of Africa, we need to continue on standing. I know it seems like it's a long fight, but I'm telling you the victory is ours. As long as we believe in what we're doing, as long as we stay faithful in the values for which we are standing for, the values of democracy, the values of justice, the values of equality, those values are more important. They will not die. At the end of the day, we'll be victorious.
We will be victorious, and the people of Congo Brazzaville,
yes,
of Sierra Leone, and the world of Africa will be victorious.
Absolutely.
How can somebody reach the National Congress for Democracy?
Well, we have a website that is called www.freethecongo.com. They can come and visit us in our website. In our website, they can leave a message. So that's how they can reach us.
One more time, the website, please.
www.freethecongo.com. National Congress for Democracy.
All right, thank you very much. So www.freethecongo.com is where we drop the curtain for today. This has been a wonderful time speaking here in the studio with Dr. Teylama Miabey, right here in the studios of Afrique Today. Well, as you know, check us out on the website www.afriquetoday.com. Check us also on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. And of course, download the app. This has been a wonderful time with me, your host, Sia Matilda Banga. I'll see you next time. And next time, very soon. See you.
Thank you.